Very good morning. This is a lecture on our last topic, on balance of payment and developing countries' debt, developing countries' debt. Okay. Last week we have seen the topic on international trade and finance, and it is for most developing countries, trade is very important or very significant because it brings in foreign exchange. Yeah, in other words, income to the country. Okay, so today's lecture is on the balance of payment, and also the other topic related to that is developing country debt, yeah, utang negara. All right, so let us start. Okay, so the first of all, the balance of payment. There are three types of account. Yeah, the first is known as the current account ataupun account semasa. Then the second type of account is capital account ataupun account modal dalam bahasa Malaysia. And the third one is cash reserve account ataupun dikenali sebagai reserve lah. Right. So for the current account, the purpose of the current account is to allow us to analyze the impact of various commercial policies, but primarily on the export and import or merchandise trade. Yeah, in other words, export of goods and also import of goods. Yeah? And then the other is the investment income. Yeah, you can we use the current account to analyze the investment income, how much investment comes in, and also the third one is the debt service payment. This is the payment that we have that the country has to make to service its loan. Yeah, that it takes from either foreign bank ataupun foreign country. And the fourth is the private transfers. Yeah, private transfers or the transfer of fund from private individuals. Okay, so I can show you the tables, yeah, on the various components, yeah, of the current account balance. First of all, the export of goods and services. The export of goods and services is good for the country. In other words, that will bring in income or money to the country, foreign exchange. Yeah. In other words, if you export, for example, oil palm or oil, minyak mentah, and also other services that will bring in money to the country. On the other hand, we have B there. B is for the account meant for import of goods and services, right? In other words, this is the payment that the country has to make. In other words, made from the country, yeah? Either by private individuals ataupun by companies and so on, or by the country. So import of goods and services, you have to pay for it. That's why I put the red in color for B. And then the other one is the investment income. I put the colors blue for C, because the more investment there is, the better it is for the country's current account, actually. Yeah. And then there is the debt service payments, which you have to pay for any form of debt from whatever borrowing ataupun yang pinjam lah. And then the other thing is the transfers or net remittance and transfers, and that I put it green just to show that if it can be positive or negative. Yeah, if there are a lot of people working overseas, for example, that brings in money ataupun transfer back money home, then they become positive. But if there are a lot of money transfer out of the country, then it becomes negative. So the total current account balance would be A minus B, yeah, export minus import, plus C, which is the investment, minus the service payment, yeah, plus E. So E could be, as I said, could be positive or negative. So in other words, the total current account balance in the dalam negara for a country could either be surplus, yeah. If it is surplus, meaning it could be as a result of more exports, yeah, rather than import, ataupun as a result of more foreign direct investment and so on, ataupun deficit. If the import, the value of goods and services that we imported, for example, is higher than the value of exports, yeah, ataupun there is very little investment that comes in and a lot of servicing of debt and so on, and so we may end up having a deficit, yeah, a deficit. Okay, so that is the current account balance. The second type of account is the capital account. Okay, capital account ataupun account modal dalam bahasa Malaysia. So this is where the private account recording the value of private foreign investment, foreign loans by private international banks, and also loans and grants from foreign government and multilateral agencies such as IMF and the World Bank. And it subtracts, dia akan menolak the capital outflow or the capital flight is the term used, capital flight, and also foreign assets in the country. Okay, so it has to take into consideration the capital outflow, capital flight, and also whatever assets that belong to foreigners ataupun foreign countries. Okay, so again, put it in the table just to make it clear, right? So the capital account balance consists of the direct foreign investment. So the more investment there is, the better it is for the country, right? And then and the foreign loans, if you can't get foreign investment, then you probably a country may probably go for loans, asking for loan and get loan from other country, both private and public, minus amortization, which is the schedule payment of the loan, right? So then the other component is the foreign assets or domestic banking, increase in the foreign assets or domestic banking system, meaning that if there are more foreign banks in the country, I mean the ownership, of the domestic banking system. For example, we now have a few in the country, foreign bank, for example, Hong Kong, Shanghai Bank, Chartered Bank, apalagi Arab Malaysian Credit, and Citibank, those are private. Not only it is private, but also foreign owned bank. Right? And then the other component of the capital account balance is the resident capital outflow, and this is actually the money that is flowing out of the country, either the resident ataupun penduduk tempatan melabur di luar negara ataupun menyimpan uang di luar negara. So in terms of the total capital account balance, it would be G campur H, G plus H minus I minus J, and that would be K. That is the K ataupun the capital account balance. So if we look at this here, to have a positive capital account balance, you need to have more foreign investment, direct investment, and also loans lah. I'll explain later, of course, the impact of this later on. Yeah, but no, the reason for direct foreign investment and foreign loans masuk ke dalam sebuah negara bagi negara yang sudah membangun ataupun developing countries is because most of the poor ataupun developing countries do not have enough saving of its own. Remember, we talked about this earlier on. Yeah, for investment, you need investment to carry out projects ataupun and so on. Yeah, in the country, you need money which come from, the government spending comes from saving in the country, right? And also, if there's not enough saving, then you depend on foreign investment as a source of capital, yeah, which can be used to for any project or development and so on. Okay, so capital account balance is G plus H minus I minus foreign asset minus resident capital outflow. Okay, now the third account is the cash or reserve, international reserve account. I think you probably have heard about people talking about reserve, yeah, country's reserve and so on. Yeah, so this is actually the balancing item, which is lowered, yeah, diturunkan whenever the total disbursement on the current and capital account exceed the total receipt, yeah, exceed the total receipt. Yeah. So kalau penerimaannya kurang, maka nilai reserve itu akan dikurangkan. So and of course, the more money generated, the better it is lah. The more income you get, the better it is. So that would mean that we have more reserve, in other words. Yeah? So it can be in any forms. Yeah, it can be in the form of foreign hard currency, contohnya US dollar, ataupun Japanese yen, yeah, ataupun euro. Yeah? Or it can be in the form of gold or other or deposit. Gold is something that is in the form of share, reserve, ya, tetapi nilai gold itu mungkin berubah juga lah, ya. So and also deposits with the International Monetary Fund. So those are the forms of reserve that the country can have, and a country can withdraw actually this reserve whenever there is a need. Yeah, that's what it is on paper lah. Tapi as you know, the rights to withdraw the reserve depends on certain conditions, of course, right? So the cash reserve account would be either increase or decrease in the cash reserve, which I put L there. So with good economy, you may have good reserve, positive or increase, and when the time is not so good, yeah, you may decrease. Yeah, I mean that will be indicated by a decrease in the reserve, in the account. And then errors and omissions, which is L minus F minus K. Remember, F is the from the current account, yeah, and K is the capital account. So the reserve depends on the account in the current account and also in the capital account, right? So that would be the omissions, errors ataupun omission tadi, yang error ataupun what do you call this, something that is happening ataupun disebabkan oleh kesilapan dan sebagainya atau kesalahan dari segi pengiraan. Okay, so the positive effects on the balance of payment, of account, ataupun credit lah. We're talking about credits, money that comes in. Any sales of goods and services abroad ataupun export will be positive. Secondly, any earning on investment in a foreign country. In other words, if the country has money or fund that it can invest in another country and make profit ataupun mendapat keuntungan, that is also positive effects. Earning on investment or any receipt of foreign money. In other words, money given by a foreign country, for example, and any gift or aid from a foreign country, bantuan daripada luar negara, ataupun any foreign sale of stocks or bond, Jadi, in other words, selling of stocks or bond ini atau bond ini mendatangkan kewangan ataupun uang, money to the country. Okay, on the negative effects, on the balance of payments. Right, so any purchase of goods and services abroad will have a negative impact. In other words, you're spending money for the goods and services which you get from other countries. Secondly, any investment in a foreign country will definitely result in less money available in the country. In other words, because you are investing in a foreign country. Any payment to a foreign country also will reduce the balance of payment. Any gift or aid given abroad will also has an impact on the balance of payment, or any purchase of stocks or bonds from abroad. So if you buy bond from abroad or stock, maksudnya kita belanja, so that will reduce the balance of payment. Jadi dua perkara tadi, one that brings a positive effects and the other bringing in the negative impact on the balance of payment. Okay. So there are several initial policy issues, for example, with regard to financing as well as reducing payment deficit. Jadi payment deficit ini maksudnya we have to make payment for contohnya loans that we get from, or that the country get from another source outside. So the one of the initial policy issue is one is to seeking to improve the balance on current account, which is by promoting export expansion, as we have seen last week. Promoting export is a good way to generate income to the country. Or if you cannot do that, then you try to limit the import. In other words, to reduce spending. So or you can better still if you can do both. You promote export and at the same time limit imports. So you will, the net result will be increase in the balance of payment. Number two, trying to improve the balance on the capital account. Remember, the capital account is based on the investment and so on. Jadi what you do is, what can be done is to improve the balance of payment, or balance on the capital account, by encouraging more private foreign direct investment, by borrowing from international commercial bank. That is, if you have to lah, tapi tidak semestinya meminjam. If you have enough, there is no need to borrow from outside, because borrowing means you have to spend later on, paying for the loan as well. Okay, ataupun cuba untuk mendapat public foreign assistance, like assistance from the developed country, from US, from Britain, from Germany, and so on. When it is a gift ataupun benda itu mungkin there's no need to pay back, at least not in cash, but probably in some other form. Yeah? Okay. And the other is through a spending of stock, spending stocks of official monetary reserves. Yeah? In other words, to increase the monetary reserves, account yang ketiga tadi. Ya? Melalui apa? Through the acquisition of greater share of international paper gold, known as the special drawing rights. It's called paper gold because it deals with the rights to withdraw the reserve tadi, from the international monetary reserve tadi. However, the issue is that only 25% of the right to withdraw the paper gold tadi is left for the developing nations, and the rest is actually for developed nations. So developed nations are the one who benefited more. I guess they contribute more to the reserve anyway. So they have more rights to withdraw, and only 25% are left for the developing countries. Okay, jadi that's the issue kena dengan perkara tersebut. Now, there are, in terms of recent trends in the LDC balance of payment, ini since the 1980s, or prior to 1980s, for example, most less developed countries ataupun developing countries were operating with sizable current account deficits. Current account deficits disebabkan oleh memang masalah untuk mengekspor barangan ataupun servis perkhidmatan kepada negara luar. So deficits in terms of the current account before the 1980s. This is due to the heavy imports of goods, banyak membeli barang ataupun mengimport barang daripada luar negara, and not only goods but also capital, modal untuk industrialisasi. Remember, the goal of development is to for economic development is or one of the means to achieve economic development is through industrialization. Jadi kebanyakan negara yang kurang membangun ini tidak mempunyai cukup modal, so it make use of ataupun meminjam daripada negara luar untuk mendapat modal tersebut. So these deficits are paid through export earnings. So how do we pay for this? We pay through, I'm talking about the developing countries, pay through earnings that that comes from export tadi lah. So if the export is good, then you have more money to pay for the for the import ataupun juga kepada import of goods and also capital tadi. But that is not enough. The problem is the export earning is not enough. There are various reasons for that. Mengapa ianya tidak cukup? So so financing then comes from transfers in the capital account, which is from the foreign aid, the direct private investment, private loans, and also multilateral loans as well. Jadi finance come to pay for the deficit tadi datangnya daripada capital transfer in the capital account. So the capital surpluses ataupun yang berlebihan, modal yang berlebihan after ditolak, minus paying for the current account deficits, will result in international reserve being accumulated. Accumulated. Okay, jadi see the point is, if you can export more, then the current account balance will be a positive surplus. But if there is little export but more import, then the current account balance lebih deficit ataupun negative. Okay, so but however, if you have surplus in your capital account, plus, after paying for the current account deficits, for example, then that will result in the international reserve for the country being accumulated, so increase in the reserve, international reserve tadi. Nah, itu sebelum tahun 1980-an, ya. Dan in the 1980s, ya, in the 1980s, most developing countries experience substantial deteriorations, ya, buruk, keadaan yang buruk terhadap both the current and also capital account balance, ya, kurang baik maksud saya, kepada current as well as the ataupun account semasa dan juga account modal tadi, ya. And balances in the capital account turned negative by 35.2 billion US dollars dalam tahun 1988 compared to a surplus of 33.2 billion in 1978. Right, so a sudden turn, yeah, negative in the late 1980s. So the current account also turned negative as well, right? In 1981 to 1999. Maksudnya tidak banyak ekspor, yang ekspor barang dan juga services because of the crisis, actually economic crisis. Now, some of the reasons for the decline in the current account balances in 1980s and 1990s and also 2000s. Some of those can be traced back to the fall ataupun penurunan, ya, commodity prices, harga komoditi, termasuk minyak mentah, including oil. And also the world recession ataupun global recessions in 1981 to 1992 and also in 1991-93. It's just like about once in 10 years, yeah, global recession berlaku. Yeah, that also has a great impact on the balance of account in the developing countries. And also increasing protectionism. Yeah, we have seen this last week. By the developed nations against less developed countries' export. Yeah, protection against goods which are exported to or by the less developed countries to the developed countries. And we have seen this. There are various reasons why they're doing that. One of which is to protect their own, producers of similar products. Yeah. And also another reason is overvalued exchange rate, ya, pertukaran mata wang asing, ya. Jadi nilai mata wang negara, contohnya bagi negara yang sedang membangun, sometimes overvalued, that sebenarnya menyebabkan masalah, ya. And for the capital account pula, the reasons for the declining in the capital account, first of all, let's go back. This is the first one here is the decline in the current account. Remember, current account has to do with export, import, yeah, and that matters, yeah, and also pembayaran balik dan sebagainya, yeah. For the capital account, the reason for the decline, one is the rising LDC debt service payments. In other words, payment that the less developed countries have to pay back to the negara ataupun bank yang telah meminjamkan uang tadi lah. Right. So and then also secondly, most international banks decided to pull back a bit, yeah, there was a sharp declines in the lending by international banks. So in other words, less money, less capital coming in, available to the developed countries. Plus massive capital flight from the less developed countries. In other words, by individuals or companies, taking their money out, and invest ataupun simpan di negara asing, ya. So that led to the issue of ataupun problem of debt crisis, ya, leading to krisis keuangan atau krisis pinjaman tadi, ya. Right. So what is the third world debt crisis? Just a bit on that, ya. Apa itu debt crisis? Sorry. Okay. So many countries having borrowed so much, yeah, they have large debts, and the amount of money they owe is quickly increasing, but having difficulty to pay back, yeah, because of the poor performance in terms of the investment, ya, daripada uang yang dipinjam tadi, ya. So not bringing much money, doesn't generate much income. So they're trying to pay. So poor countries are trying to pay off the debt. The term here is debt servicing. So debt servicing has become a serious problem for many of these countries, and as a result of that, it causes a great hardship for the people in the country as well. Because whatever money earned by the country are spent on paying back the loan tadi, ya. Jadi tidak banyak yang boleh digunakan untuk membangunkan sama ada the social ataupun physical development in the country. So, for example, take the region of Sub-Saharan Africa, for example. This region pays about $10 billion every year to service the debt, untuk membayar hutang, and that is about 4 times as much money as countries in the region spend on healthcare and education. So that money could easily have been spent, yeah, on healthcare system, and also on education and so on. Yeah. So in other words, the people are being deprived of the opportunity untuk mendapat sistem kesihatan yang lebih baik, pendidikan lebih baik, because the country now cannot afford, they have to pay back the loan tadi lah, right? So all right, so that's how it is, ya. Mengapa yang berlaku, bagaimana debt crisis berlaku. So the debt crisis itu merupakan external debt ataupun hutang ini memang perkara yang agak quite common, ya, for most less developed countries. The reason for that is because of they have to borrow. They don't have enough saving, yeah. So they have to borrow from other countries, yeah, to put in the current account, ya, untuk tujuan pelaburan, untuk tujuan digunakan untuk pembangunan dan sebagainya di dalam negara. So foreign borrowing is beneficial, but it comes with costs, because you have to service the debt tadi ataupun hutang tadi. So the debt service payment, yaitu bayaran balik hutang tadi, can only be made with foreign exchange. Yeah, with foreign exchange, that is more borrowings, and also, I mean, because if you don't have enough simpanan, maka you have to borrow more money, in order to pay for the debt tadi ataupun hutang tadi, ataupun dengan export earnings, and also earning that come from export untuk membayar hutang, ataupun dengan mengurangkan import, ya. Mengurangkan import. So there are serious problems with debt accumulation, of course, yeah, when the debt gets too large to generate any benefits, then it is a real problem. Yeah. Sources of foreign capital changes from long-term low interest rate to short-term high interest rate. Itu juga satu perubahan yang drastik di mana the terms of borrowing tadi ya bertukar daripada long-term interest rates to short-term interest rate. Not only it is from long to short-term, but also with much higher interest rate. Jadi kalau interest rate ataupun bunganya, kita kata bunga pinjaman tadi tinggi, maka paksa lebih bayar lebih banyak lah. Ya, the principal plus interest tadi. Ya. So most loans to the third world have to be paid seperti kita kata tadi in the form of hard currencies, US dollar, Japanese yen, and so on. Yeah. So poor countries, on the other hand, have soft currencies. Soft currencies ini contohnya even Malaysian ringgit pun quite soft juga lah. Indonesian rupiah, yeah, very soft. Many of the poor countries currencies are soft. Soft meaning the value fluctuates very much ya. Kalau dibandingkan dengan hard currencies, currencies tak banyak berubah nilainya ya. Right, so nilainya berubah ya frequently. And also jadi pembayar balik menggunakan hard currencies. So when the value of hard currencies dibandingkan dengan nilai mata wang tempatan tinggi, maksudnya $1 kalau dulunya $1 equivalent to 2.5 Malaysian ringgit, sekarang ini $1 is equivalent to 4.1 Malaysian ringgit sebagai contoh lah. So in other words, you have to pay more, double of what you have been paying otherwise. Yeah. So there is a severe balance of payments problem as commodity prices also drop drastically. Jadi itu juga menyumbang kepada masalah kepada balance of payment tadi. Yeah. So commodity prices plunge, which cripple the poorest countries' ability to pay the foreign debt. Jadi karena itu sumber lah sebenarnya harga komoditi yang diekspor tu kalau ianya turun maka nilai mata wang yang diperolehi daripada ekspor tersebut juga akan menjadi kecil. Yeah? So that is contributing to the problems of debt tadi, ya, ataupun hutang tadi. Benda-benda lainnya termasuk juga global recessions ya yang akan memburuk keadaan lagi, which took place almost once in 1 to 10 to 15 years, and whenever it comes the impact tu agak dirasai sangat-sangat dirasai oleh negara-negara yang sedang membangun. And as I said just now, the international banks, because of the inability of the less developed countries to pay or service the payment, pay the loan previously, jadi mereka pun merasakan tak ada confidence, ya, no loss of confidence terhadap kebolehan, ya, less developed countries to repay the loans. Yeah, so they cut off the flow of new lending to the poor countries ataupun less developed countries. Juga tadi katakan juga saya mengatakan bahawa capital flight juga, as a result local residents sending great sums of money out of the country to be invested in developed countries. In other words, where they can make money out of their money spent, saved. Yeah, so investing their money to make profit in other countries. So what are the impact of debt on development in developing countries? Ya? Impactnya adalah debt has crippled many developing countries. Ya, so often based on loans. For example, satu contohnya loan itu ataupun pinjaman telah dilakukan oleh pemerintah yang dahulu, ya, ataupun dictator. So many of this happened during this time lah. So detectors took the loan, but did not use the loan properly. Yeah, instead they siphon it off, ya, gunakan masuk bank account sendiri dan sebagainya, sebagai contoh. So many of which various Western nations put into power to shoot the interest. Jadi diktator atau ruler itu adalah merupakan orang yang dilantik ataupun chosen by the Western powers, ya, and hurts a lot, ya. Jadi okay, so millions of, as a result of that, millions of people in the less developed countries face poorer and poorer living standards as precious resources are diverted ataupun digunakan untuk membayar hutang, to pay to debt repayment instead of using the money to help the poor. Jadi itulah, ya. Jadi uang yang sepatutnya digunakan, yang boleh digunakan untuk tujuan pembangunan, ya, untuk membantu orang yang miskin, tetapi terpaksa digunakan untuk membayar hutang, yang mana hutang yang terdahulu. A good example, our recent example that we have here is our 1MDB, loans and so on. Yeah, so the country has to pay, the government will have to pay for that unfortunate, yeah, loan by 1MDB. And so I don't know how many billions we need to pay, I forgot, yeah, but that money could have been used, yeah, for helping the poor in our country, for example. Right? This is just another example in East African, for example, as a result of the debt crisis. Yeah, each African child, yeah, di benua Afrika inherits approximately $379 in debt at birth. Maksudnya masa dilahirkan sudah dibebankan dengan hutang tadi, karena hutang tersebut adalah hutang yang diambil ataupun dibuat, ya, oleh orang yang terdahulu. So the countries are poor, they need to pay, and so when they are born, you are already inherit ataupun mewarisi hutang tersebut, each child. So countries spend more each year repaying, untuk membayar hutang, than on education and healthcare. Itu statement from the World Bank, yeah, World Bank. The following is a quote from the former president of Nigeria, President Obasanjo, who commented on the debt faced by Nigeria. Yeah? And this is what he said. Yeah? All we had borrowed up to 1995 or up to 1996 was around 5 billion. Yeah, that's all they have borrowed. Yeah? And we have paid about 16 billion of the initial 5 billion, yet we are still being told that we owe about 28 billion. So jadi 5 billion, tetapi ujung-ujungnya telah membayar 16 billion, and then they were told also there's still remaining about 28 billion. That 28 billion came about because of the injustice in the foreign creditors' interest rate. It is disebabkan oleh interest rate yang tinggi. So if you ask me what is the worst thing in the world, he said, I will say it is the compound interest. Compound interest yang di-charge atau dikenakan oleh international bank terhadap peminjam. Right? So if you look at this, initially borrowed a total of 5 billion, and yet they have to pay 16 billion already paid, plus 28 billion, maknanya 44 billion. 5 billion borrowed, you have to pay 44 billion in total. Is that fair? You ask yourself. Yeah? So, okay, so some of the causes of debt crisis, I think I have mentioned a bit about that just now. Yeah, heavy borrowing is one, because of to sustain economic growth. Many countries are doing that, but many projects also fail. and some never get implemented. So that is the problem. And also drop in the commodity prices, such as oil price, increase in commercial banks to provide loans on fixed terms to newly industrialized countries, from long term to short term, and also from low interest to high interest. Private capital, and also the repayment for debt, and so debt crisis can also occur just the value of the developing countries serve currency tadi, itu saja boleh menyebabkan masalah, di mana nilai mata wang itu telah berubah. So unable to pay for existing debts, many developing countries were forced to borrow more, and that is the leading to the debt crisis. Okay, so this is just a cartoon, showing exactly what the situation was. This is the African, and this is the World Bank on this side. So African said we need a new loan in order to pay the interest of our previous loan, which may have actually been taken by the previous rulers, ataupun orang yang dahulu, but still the government will still have to pay for that. And then this is the World Bank. Dalam hati dia, in his mind, I have invented a perpetual motion machine. Jadi menunjukkan bahawa ianya akan menyebabkan more borrowings and more borrowings in the future, and so that's what is happening actually. What are the causes of debt? Ada juga yang berkenaan dengan sebab-sebab lain kenapa hutang itu berlaku. One is, according to the literature, is the legacy of colonialism. Ada kaitan dengan colonialism. For example, the developing countries, debt is partly the result of the unjust transfer to them of the debts of the colonizing states in billions of dollars at a very high interest rate. Itu ada kaitan dengan colonialism, result of the unjust transfer. Tidak adil lah maksudnya, the transfer of the debt to them by the colonizing states. Okay. Keduanya adalah apa dikenali sebagai odious debt. Odious debt, whereby the unjust debt is incurred as rich countries, loan dictators, memberi pinjaman kepada pemerintah yang dikatakan sebagai dictator ataupun corrupt leaders, ketua ataupun pemerintah yang corrupted when it was known that the money would be wasted. Tidak akan mendatangkan hasil. Right, so that is the odious debt. For example, in South Africa, shortly after freedom from the apartheid, had to pay debts incurred by the apartheid regime. Jadi hutang itu ataupun pinjaman ataupun hutang itu telah dibuat semasa regime apartheid dulu, kemudian kerajaan yang ada sekarang ini terpaksa membayar. So in effect, South Africans are paying for their own oppression. Setelah sudah pun mereka diopres, dikenakan, dipinggirkan dan sebagainya, dan then they have to pay the debts of the previous regime as well. Another examples, for example, in the Philippines during the President Marcos era, a lot of money from either mostly loans and so on, that comes from ataupun pinjaman yang dibuat daripada World Bank and so on. They're supposed to be for the development of Philippines, unfortunately, because of the bad leadership, pemerintahan yang tak adil sebagainya, right? So some of those money ended up in the personal account of the president and his family members, ya, in Swiss Bank dan sebagainya. Okay. Sama juga yang berlaku dulu semasa Presiden Suharto in Indonesia, and also in Zaire dan sebagainya. Yeah, all those are examples of corrupt leaders who actually yang menyebabkan hutang itu tidak terbayar, tidak dibayar, dan accumulated and become a crisis. And the current government, yeah, will have to pay for the loans tadi. Yeah. Malaysia, I just put question mark there. I think if you read some recent history of Malaysia pun juga ada menunjukkan lah, ya, menunjukkan bahawa terdapat masalah tersebut juga, ya, yang serupa. Okay, and then the other cause of debt is also caused by mismanaged spending and lending, yeah, by the West in the 1960s and also 70s, yeah. So in effect, due to the enormous debt repayments, the poor countries are actually subsidizing the rich. Yeah. So poor countries, through the payments of the loans, yeah, are actually memberi subsidi ataupun subsidizing the rich, enriching the rich countries, in other words. Right. Okay, just a quote berkenaan dengan odious debt tadi. Odious debt of Iraq, negara Iraq dulu, ya, Iraq's odious debt, recorded ataupun yang disebutkan di Jubilee USA 2003. So odious debt is established legal principle. Yeah, legally, odious debt is debt that resulted from loans to an illegitimate ataupun dictatorial government that used the money to oppress the people or for some personal purposes. Right. So moreover, in cases where borrowed money was used in ways contrary to the people's interests, with the knowledge of creditors, the creditors may be said to have committed a hostile act against the people. Yeah, so they cannot legitimately expect repayment of such debt. Jadi itu disebutkan sebagai odious debt tadi. Yeah. And last but not least, there are a few strategies. Now the problem is some countries just could not pay, yeah, the debt that they have taken. They just could not pay for it. They just do not have the means, yeah, to repay the loans, yeah. So some of the strategies to reduce debt, yeah, among these countries is to cancel debt cancellation in exchange for poverty eradication. Okay, maksudnya the problem with poor countries is that so many still remain poor, yeah, because one of the reason is because the money which could be used to solve the problem of the poor has been used to pay for the debt. Jadi ianya tidak akan habis, ya, ataupun will never be finished, will never end, yeah. So it has to be a debt cancellation, yeah. Cancel debt, cancel hutang tadi lah maksudnya, ya. So for example, under President Clinton, yeah, in 1999, yeah, USA, the president said that the United States would try and forgive all the debt, forgive all the debt, yeah, that poor countries owe the United States if they promise to use that saved money, wang yang yang sepatutnya digunakan untuk membayar hutang, tetapi that money can be saved. So if they promise that money save money tadi on health, education, and other basic human needs. Yeah, in other words, human development. Okay, so US was ready to forgive all the debt. Jadi semua hutang itu dikira tidak ada hutang lagi lah maksudnya. Yeah, cancel all the debt. I don't know how many billions, yeah, but just forget about that. As long as the poor countries are willing to make use of that money for improving the human human development in the country, ya, termasuk education, health, and so on. Britain juga, negara Britain juga mengikuti langkah yang dibuat oleh Presiden Clinton of the United States. So they also had planned to cancel out 100% of debt owed by ataupun yang apa nama by 26 poor countries, as long as the money would be used towards poverty eradication in those countries. Okay, willing to cancel out the debt. Ya, jadi kira hangus lah, tak payah perlu bayar, tetapi dengan harapan uang tersebut boleh digunakan untuk to solve, ya, digunakan untuk poverty eradication programs di negara tersebut. Germany also follow suit. Also has announced that it will write off ataupun cancel 100% of bilateral debts owed to Germany yang mereka ini berhutang kepada negara Germany from some 30 poorest countries of the world, estimated to be worth about 5 billion US dollar. Right, so US, Britain, Germany, they were willing to cancel out the debt, tapi dengan harapan, dengan expectation bahwa uang yang digunakan untuk membayar balik hutang tadi sebaliknya digunakan untuk pembangunan, ya, ekonomi negara tersebut. Right, so itu yang pertama, ya, debt cancellation. Yang keduanya adalah strategi yang kedua is for rich countries to reduce protection of their agriculture markets and subsidies. Ya, itu yang kita bincang minggu lepas lah. That in order for the poor countries ataupun less developed countries to generate more income to trade, the rich country have to reduce protection, ya, of apa nama against imported goods ataupun services. Otherwise, kalau tidak, it can lead to dumping and flooding of the products, and therefore driving local people out of businesses and also livelihoods. Ya, kalau tidak mendapat pasaran di negara maju, ya, can lead to dumping and also flooding of the products. So when the too many products are on, yeah, and they cannot sell, so some business will have to close down, and also that will affect the livelihoods of the people as well. So that is so second strategy is to reduce protectionism by the rich countries. The third one is to increase emphasis on improving governance. Right, so governance have to improve. I mean, the system of governance will have to improve, particularly as concerns the efficient management of public resources. Ya, jadi pengurusan apa nama sumber umum ataupun awam, sorry, yeah, and also greater transparency on how the money is spent and so on, yeah, and also increase government accountability as well. Jadi kebertanggungjawaban, ya, oleh kerajaan. So in other words, improving the governance, yeah, of the country, and those who are governing, and also system of governance has to improve. The fourth one is to fight corruption, yeah, so counter corruption and borrowing and also lending, because that is also a source of the problem just now, yeah. Right, so those are the some of the strategies untuk mengatasi ataupun untuk menyelesaikan masalah hutang, yeah, debt crisis in many of these developed countries, developing countries, sorry, or less developed countries. Okay, jadi that's all for this lecture on balance of payments and also debt repayment study. Right, so as I said, this is our last class for the semester, and I would like to thank you, all of you, for your participation in all the classes throughout the semester, right, and for your cooperation in the lecture as well as in your assignments and so on. Yeah. So last but not least, I wish those who are celebrating Christmas, yeah, Christians who are celebrating Christmas, I wish you a happy and joyous Christmas, and also for those, and also the New Year, I wish everybody a happy New Year too, right? For all of you. So wish you all the best. In your presentation, there's going to be a presentation which I will arrange later on for your group project, and also good luck on your final exam. Thank you very much. I'll see you again later on. Yeah. Bye-bye.